All right, y'all. So Stephen A. Smith went on Jon Stewart's show, The Daily Show, and it was definitely an interesting back and forth. So, everybody knows I love Jon Stewart. In fact, if I had my wish, he would actually be the Democratic candidate for 2028. I don't know if he has any interest whatsoever. I doubt it. I doubt he has any interest. But if he does, that'd be wonderful. I think he would absolutely rip through a Democratic primary, and it would be smooth sailing for him, if I'm being honest. He has the ability to sort of be the Trump of the left and break the Democratic Party and remake it in his image, which his image, of course, would be way superior to what we have now. But Stephen A. Smith, I mean, look, I got to be honest. I think that's what he wants to do. Stephen A. Smith wants to effectively be the Trump of the Democratic side and be the nominee in 2028. But the problem is, Stephen A. Smith is, by his own admission, sort of an enlightened centrist, right? And Jon Stewart is certainly significantly to the left of Stephen A. Smith. So here you have, honestly, clashing visions about the future of the Democratic Party. And look, I think Jon Stewart just absolutely shreds Stephen A. here. But this is an interesting back and forth, so let's watch.
Watch all these things unfold. Do you think to yourself, yep, he got us all back?
Hell yeah, hell yeah. How could you not?
That.
I mean, because listen, there are things, I don't think anybody, I'm a centrist at heart. I usually vote Democrat. The only Republican I've ever voted for was Chris Christie, former governor of New Jersey. Outside of that, I've always voted Democrat. But there's a lot of things that I think can be done differently. I thought the left blew this election more so than him winning it.
Really?
The left definitely blew it. I thought that the progressive left, the extreme left, really, really ruined the election for the Democrats.
That's a wild-ass thing to say. All right, let's keep going.
And that's how I view it. It's the truth. And I think that because that happened, it positioned him to get away with a lot of things. His position on immigration has been well known. He let you know what he was going to do. A lot of times.
Sure, he did it on an escalator.
Yeah, how about
the
that?
most powerful mode of transportation there is.
He doesn't care. And here's the thing about it is, listen, don't be surprised when you see him and you're thinking about pettiness or you're thinking about vengeance or whatever.
Right.
He's viewing it as they tried to put me in prison. They tried to put me behind bars for the rest of my life.
Right.
I'm going to get them all. And he won't just openly admit it. He'll say stuff like, I wouldn't do that, but I'd have the right to if I wanted to.
Right.
He's letting you know. And the people that he's
also doing it.
Oh, yeah, to a degree, yes, he is. No question about it.
But don't you think, it would be reasonable to say that January 6th was a moment that should have maybe gotten him some legal, that wasn't a happenstance.
Which, by the way, the point Jon Stewart is making is like, it wasn't unfair that they were going after him. He committed 91 crimes and tried to steal the 2020 election. Like, what? Don't paint it like, oh, he's such a victim and he was targeted for political reasons. No, he was targeted for criminal reasons because he's a criminal and he committed 91 crimes.
Those people who firmly believe it was an insurrection, there's no question about it. I'm not backing up from that. But the reality is that I pay attention to 70 plus million people who felt otherwise or did not give a damn. Because what they said was, we're looking at this country, the state of affairs that exists within this nation, and we're concerned about ourselves. We ain't got time for all that. We don't care whether he's in jail or not. We might care if he's in the White House or not, but we don't care whether he's in jail or not. And if you're the left and you engaged in what the right would say is lawfare, trying to use the courts to keep from having to compete with him, and then you're putting forth some of these policies, whether it's transgender issues or other stuff that they would bring up, you had a lot of people saying that's not where our focus should lie.
Oh my God. Kamala did not bring up trans issues in the 2024 race. For the love of God, y'all. I don't understand. I mean, it's literally like a zombie lie because it refuses to just go away. So here's what Kamala Harris didn't lean into. And some of these things she just flat out didn't talk about at all on the campaign trail. Race, gender, trans people, pronouns, Latinx, cancel culture, political correctness. She stressed that she would represent all Americans. She ran to the right on the issue of the border. She talked about owning a gun. She ran on freedom and patriotism. Then she also had some good policies like $6,000 child tax credit, a ban on price gouging for groceries, reducing medical debt. She, of course, picked Tim Walz as VP. He's the best governor in the country by far based on his policy record, and it's not particularly close. So this idea that, the far left, bro, it's those far left ideas. What far left? What far left are you talking about? He brings up trans people. They didn't mention trans people. And by the way, maybe they should have, because right now you have Texas trying to make it illegal for even adults to be trans. They want to make it so that if you're a trans person and you try to change your gender on your driver's license, they want to ban that. They want to call that criminal fraud and lock you up for it. So maybe we should take a principled stand in favor of our trans brothers and sisters who did nothing wrong and are being targeted and persecuted by a group of fascists.
And then you're putting forth some of these policies, whether it's transgender issues or other stuff that they would bring up. You had a lot of people that saying that's not where our focus should lie. We're not
but don't you think that's their focus?
Whose focus?
The right.
Okay.
I feel like the right is far more focused on where you go to the bathroom than the left. I feel like the left is a more laissez-faire. Like, look, I think the left is... It's easy to paint the extreme and to create a hyperbolic vision of the left as this woke army.
Because that's what Fox News does 24/7. They lie, they smear, they strawman the left on a regular basis. And so people, because of the relentless propaganda to paint the left as something it's not, that's why people like Stephen A. Smith fall for it.
I think it's exaggerated.
Yes, but here's the problem, John.
Yeah.
You can be on national TV every single week doing a phenomenal job that you
One
do.
day a week.
I know that. I said every week. I just say, wait, I know this. Once this. I said every week.
One day.
I said every week. I didn't say every day.
Right.
The point is that even though you're pointing that out, when you're running for an election, it's about what's going to win. And they knew that was a strategy that was going to be a winning strategy for them.
But then how is it the left's fault if it's not real?
Because you got to know what works and what doesn't and fight fire with fire.
So they lied relentlessly about the nature of the left, and credit to them for that? No, they're fucking charlatans and scumbags and smear merchants and freaks, and we should treat them as such.
Got to know how to win.
They called him Hitler.
Well, did that work?
No.
Did that work? Exactly.
No.
A matter of fact, a lot of people dismiss that argument because they accuse the left of engaging in the extreme because you didn't want to compete against them. Think about this. The man rolled down the escalators in 2015, okay? He's dominated the GOP and the Republican Party since that moment in time.
No question.
Who the hell has done that for the left? It was Hillary's turn in 2016, even though Bernie was gaining traction.
Right.
In 2020, Representative Clyburn had to come to the rescue in South Carolina in order for Joe Biden to even be relevant.
This is why Stephen A. Smith is confusing, right? He was just talking about, I'm a centrist, and we need the Democrats to be more centrist. And then now he talks about how, well, Bernie Sanders was obviously going to win, and then they screwed him over 2 times. And it's like, Stephen, that's true, but it undermines your other arguments. Your other arguments are we need to be more centrist. Well, you just described how the progressive leftist was the one who had all the momentum and who could have won, but he got screwed by the centrists. So it's just, he's just confused, right? He's just confused. Yes, the reason why Bernie had all the momentum and Bernie was the actually popular one, and they had to screw him in order for him to lose, is because he was running on left-wing issues which are actually overwhelmingly popular.
And then obviously with COVID and everything that had transpired and how Trump handled that particular situation, it favored the Democrats. Then you get into office, Biden promised to be a transitional president, a one-term president. I'm just here to be as a stopgap to make sure that we can return to normalcy. And then the second he got in and there was no red wave in 2022, he said, hell with that, I ain't leaving. And then what happened?
Once you touch the ring, though. Once you touch the ring.
There you go. It's an addiction. Right. It's an addiction, right?
That part is true, yeah. That Biden, I'm the transitional guy. And then he's like, nope, I'm staying. And by the way, it was very obvious he was not up to the task.
And then sure enough, when the red wave didn't happen and the Democrats won more than anybody expected them to in 2022, they let them get away with it. And think about it. You call yourself the left, you call yourself a progressive party, and you are standing up at the State of the Union clapping and chanting 4 more years for a man that was going to be 82.
Right.
Yeah, but you just said Bernie Sanders had all the momentum and he could have won, and he's older than Joe Biden. I don't want to act like age is a non-issue, but it's not everything, right? It's not everything. Yes, we have a gerontocracy problem. Yes, the 70-something, 80-something-year-old Democrats, the ones whose health are failing them, they should probably step aside. But if somebody represents the right ideas, then you can overcome age limitations.
Once the inauguration day took place with 4 more years. And then America looked at you and said, have you lost your ever-loving mind? That's what the hell happened. It's very simple. It ain't that damn complicated. It really isn't.
But that seems to be at cross purposes, Stephen A. Smith. Okay. And let's first take this.
Okay, please.
Let me take
you
a
are
different
doing it. You're doing a very good job.
Because you are saying, you're going to have me on that show.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Come on.
What time does it take? Is it only
10
once a
a.m.
week?
10 a.m. 5 days a week, 10 a.m. to noon. You come one day.
Don't grind me down to a
You come one day.
When you talk about, so that's 2 separate things.
Yes,
one is they allowed what people would consider to be a centrist, old guard Democrat to run again for president, and then you say the progressive left wing is the one that didn't. They didn't choose Joe Biden. They don't have the power in that party. Chuck Schumer is out there, writing 8 strongly worded questions to Donald Trump about getting. The progressives are the one going, people in this country want Medicare for all. Do something. They're the ones that have a principled agenda that they are going to put forth that all the Democrats have run from in under the guise of we have to be moderate and we have to be centrist. But that doesn't appeal to changing the culture and dynamic of how this government should work by the people, for the people, of the people.
That's a great argument, and I don't disagree.
Yes.
To you is that
we're done here.
He's right. He's right. So the thing that the left has going for them right now is actually, it's unique in that it hasn't happened before. The thing that the left has going for them now is they're also viewed correctly as these are the only ones who are actually fighting back against Trump. Okay, the centrists are cucked to MAGA, effectively. They are semi-MAGA. They are diet MAGA. We'll have a story on that on tomorrow's show about just how cucked they are to MAGA. They're voting for MAGA shit, okay? So the left is actually, it's the only group that's actually fighting back against Trump's overt fascism. That's point number one. And point number two, to John's point, they're the only ones that have an actual agenda, that actually have ideas and policies they're trying to implement to make the country better. So, for example, single-payer healthcare, Medicare for all, right? Let's give everybody healthcare. Let's not have medical bills be the number one cause of bankruptcy anymore. Let's not have millions of people without basic health insurance. Let's make it so when you get sick, you get help, and that's it. It's paid for by tax dollars. It's not out of pocket. You're not going to ruin your life because of some unexpected medical bills. It's the left that's arguing for those things, not the centrists. The centrists are hostile to universal health care. So that's one example. Another example is raising the minimum wage, right? Doing the PRO Act, which means giving people the ability to have the right to join a union. Again, that's the left fighting for those things. Arguing to cut off the endless flow of weapons that go to the genocidal Israeli regime. That's the left that takes up on every tangible issue, right? On how to improve people's lives and make this world a better place. Raise taxes on the wealthy, redistribute it to the American people, protect Social Security, protect Medicare, that's the left that's leading the charge. So as of right now, there's only one political faction in this country that is both standing up and fighting back against all of Trump's fascism and actually represent a counter agenda. The argument from the left is the problem is not the trans people, it's not the immigrants like MAGA wants you to believe. Those are our brothers and sisters. They are not the problem. The problem are the billionaires and the corporations and the massive corruption in this political system, which makes it so that the government represents the ultra wealthy alone and not you. So we have a story, we have a narrative, we have the policies, and we have the will to fight Trump and Trumpism. So the answer is the left. It's always been the left. It's no longer the centrist. Back in 2016, there was this view that a lot of normie Democrats had, that actually the only way we can beat Trump, the way to be serious and win, is to go with the Hillary Clintons and the Joe Bidens, go with the centrists. And they sort of branded themselves as we're actually more anti-Trump than Bernie Sanders, right? Now that wasn't true, but that was the perception a lot of people had, that the centrists are the ones who are serious about fighting MAGA. Now that delusion has been shattered. They realize, holy shit, it is the centrists like Chuck Schumer, for example, and Hakeem Jeffries, that are caving to Trump on a regular basis and giving him his continuing resolution and letting him pass it. They're sitting there, silent as can be, as Trump rips apart the Constitution right in front of our eyes. Who is actually resisting? Oh, I don't know. Maybe the people who are doing the anti-oligarchy rally all across this country and shattering attendance records? Maybe it's AOC. Maybe it's Bernie Sanders. Maybe it's the ones who are actually speaking out against Trump. And so there it is. So Stephen A is confused. He's confused to some extent. Right? He's like, oh, we need to remake the Democratic Party and fix everything. Okay, well, how do you want to do that? With centrism. Well, that is what they are, and that is what caused the problem. And that's what led to the rise of Trump. So he's confused. But as you can see, his confusion leads him to also concede basically the core of his argument without even realizing it, where Jon Stewart destroys his argument. The old guard, centrists are the problem, the left are the solution. And he's like, yeah, I agree with that. Okay, well, you just undermine everything you just said. But that's okay, because on the substance, John is right. And I don't know, Stephen A., is there any hope for him? I'll leave it up to you guys. Is there any hope for him? I feel like his branding as an enlightened centrist sort of leads him down some weird paths where he does some pretty silly both sidesism and false equivalence on a regular basis. He's more about style over substance, I would say. I don't think on actual policy issues he's nearly as left as he needs to be, right? For example, he loves tax cuts for the rich. Maybe because he's fucking rich, right? Whereas Jon Stewart definitely represents more of a left-wing position. So anyway, that was a good back and forth. I think John nailed him. But unfortunately, it's Stephen A. who's thinking about hopping into the Democratic primary. And look, honestly, on style alone, and just the sense that he can fight alone and being smooth and charismatic. On that alone, he can go a really long fucking way. But what we need to do is marry the charisma with actual policy substance, and that's more of what Jon Stewart represents. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.